Have the Titans found an absolute diamond in the rough for the offensive line? And also on the back half of the show, we're going to talk about some bad news. One of the players that got placed on IR, but a very, very good replacement in the works on the depth chart. Welcome into Titans Today by Chat Sports, presented by PrizePicks. I am your host, Brett Alper. But let's start with this absolute gem that the Titans may have after the first preseason game. Now, they might be a new right guard in the mix, or already he might have won the right guard battle, and that is Mr. Fernando Carmona. If you guys remember, you guys can go all the way back to about, May, June. I originally had Fernando Carmona slotted as the starting right guard, but then we heard that Cordell, Volson, or Jackson Slater was going to be the starting guard. But now, it seems like Fernando Carmona, the 6'5", 316-pound guard out of Arkansas who was drafted in the 5th round, looks like that he is going to be the starting right guard for this team. And the Titans, they were looking for somebody throughout the entire offseason, and it finally is starting to look like that they found him. We'll get into more about Carmona in just a second, guys, but I want to remind you to hit that Noti Gang sign. Turn on those notifications, because guess what? We're going to have a watch party on Sunday for the Seahawks-Titans game, and you're not going to want to miss out. Plus, we have all Titans news covered all the time. So step 1, hit that sub button. Then step 2, click that bell icon. And step 3, select those all so you know exactly when we make a video and also when we go live. All right, so the entire offseason between OTAs and minicamp has basically just been between Cordell, Volson and Jackson Slater. And out of nowhere, when it became kind of time to play the first preseason game against the 49ers, well, it started with the joint practices, but just those first two things, it was kind of a surprise out of nowhere. And starting on Thursday, Fernando Carmona was starting at the right guard spot. And I will say this, it kind of caught me off guard a little bit, but I was never, ever opposed to it. But right when we saw him start at that right guard spot, he played all the snaps with the starting offense. So he had J.C. Latham to his right. He had Austin Schlottman to his left. And in the backfield, yeah, it was Cam Ward. But when he was in the game, Carmona was by far the best right guard on the field. And he was better than Cordell Volson. He was better than Jackson Slater. And I was actually very, very impressed from what we saw from Carmona on Thursday. I mean, just look at the PFF grades of what he did in 30 or 28 snaps. He had an overall grade of 82.4. He had a run block grade of 76.7. The pass blocking grade was the best in the entire team at 83.9. And then he only allowed, guess what? 0 sacks and 0 pressures. So he was very impressive, to say the least, from all sides of the ball, run and block and pass blocking. And it showed that he has currently earned that starting job. And then we heard from Robert Saleh earlier today that he is going to kind of keep him in at that starting right guard position. But he also talked about him after the game and how good he was doing. He said it was his opportunity, and Carmona's doing a great job. He put his foot in the door, and he's doing his best to pry it open and blast through that thing. So he's done a good job, a nice job. He's steady. He's very smart. He knows what to do. He communicates well. He executes. He's strong in there. So he's not getting pushed around. You just want a steady guy. I always tell a lineman, just die a slow death and you'll play a long time. He's just doing a great job just putting himself in position to be successful. And obviously I can't show video on this channel here for you guys, but you can see right here, this was one of the plays that you saw for Fernando Carmona. He lit up on a block, pulling. And he opened up a spot. I think that was Tony Pollard in the backfield there, but he blew up that lineman, and it was an absolute hold to see, open it up for the running back. But that's just the aggressive player that he is. But I will say this. For Carmona, it was not a hard battle to win because, well, they were all bad. Jackson Slater was bad. Cordell Volson was bad. So it wasn't a hard battle to get. And we'll go over more about the offensive line in just a second, guys. But we also got to talk about our sponsor of today's show, and that is PrizePicks. It's the best place to win cash while watching sports. You know, basketball, it's completely over, except for the W that's going on, which we make lineups for all the time. But you also have big golf tournaments. Baseball's in full swing with the postseason push. Then you also have motorsports every single Sunday. And you know, I love making daily fantasy lineups, and you also have those season-long lineups. So we got this one right here. I don't know. After the preseason, Fernando Mendoza looked good, but I'm still going to go with the less on his game started. I'm going to go with the less on Jeremiah Love in his rushing yards. Guess what? He's got an ankle injury, so maybe we'll see how that is. And then Jordan Tyson, we're going with the more on his receiving yards, but he's also dealing with an injury, so we'll have to wait and see on that one. 20 to win 120. The app is super easy to use, guys. Just pick more or less on a few player stats and then lock in your lineup. There's a new user offer, and it's a new offer. Play your first $5 and get $150 on lineups if you win. Just use code HMA when you sign up. That's right. PrizePicks just switched up their offer, so there's no better time to join, lock in, and win that first lineup. That's code HMA at sign up to get $150 in bonus lineups if you win your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. All right, so you can see right here when you look at the Titans' offensive depth chart. And I have it named there for Fernando Carmona, but that is still Jackson Slater's head. But you can push that over, Mr. Creighton, because, well, yeah, perfect. You got it. Oh, man, perfect producing here. Yeah, you can see right there. That's the offensive line depth chart. You got Dan Moore, Peter Skronsky, who just got that huge contract. Austin Slotman has kind of locked himself in at the center position. I don't see Pat Coogan fighting for that spot because Schlotman is right there. And then J.C. Latham is also there at right tackle, who played incredible on Thursday night, which we'll do another video on because he's actually been impressive. But yeah, for right guard, I mean, you just have those two guys. It's not really hard to kind of win that roster spot. And if Carmona keeps this up, because he looks good in practice, hopefully he looks good in this preseason game against the Seahawks this weekend, which we'll find out. But he will be the starting right guard easily, and the Titans need that with this offensive line because it looks like it could be struggling again this year. They didn't really do much to improve it. You got a guy in the draft in the 5th round, and you signed a career backup in Austin Slotman. So hopefully, maybe if Carmona plays good, hey, guess what? That helps J.C. Latham. So either one of those two, if they can play better, then that's only going to help this offensive line. I'll ask you guys, though, after seeing what we saw in preseason week 1, will Fernando Carmona start at right guard week 1? You go down in the comments section and let me know. Are you starting him? Give me a Y for yes, or give me an N for no. All right, transitioning to some of the bad news here, which I was pretty disappointed in because he played a big role on this team last year, and the Titans have placed edge rusher Jalen Harrell on injured reserve, so that means he has ended his season. He cannot come back. It's unlike once you put a player on IR when the season starts, you can take a guy off after 6 weeks, but if you get put on during the preseason, you're out for a year. But for Harrell, unfortunate, tore his ACL, and he was going to play a big part on this team. And I thought he had a nice spot as maybe the edge rusher 3, maybe the edge rusher 4. Hell, maybe he could have even started over Keldrick Falk and Femi Oladejo just like he did last year, because Harrell was one of the leading guys for this Titans team last season. Look, I know they didn't have that good of a team. You had Draymond Jones as your edge rusher who got traded to the Ravens halfway through the season, and Femi Oladejo was hurt. But who was that guy that stepped up and played probably better than anybody on the line? That was Jalen Harrell. Last season, he had 25 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, and also 5 sacks. Like, he was actually a very, very solid rotational player. And now, when you have, you see him with his 5 sacks and 25 tackles, you didn't need him to start. So he would have been a perfect kind of depth piece for this Titans team. When you look at their current depth chart, you have Jermaine Johnson, who has looked solid. You have Femi Oladejo. John Frank Lamars is also there. And you have Truman Jones, who might make the team, Jordan Elliott. But the Titans have depth specifically with Keldrick Falk. And I think Keldrick Falk is going to be one of those guys that helps this team a lot for the depth that they have. Because right now you are looking at a rotation of probably about 4 or 5 guys. Now it is down to strictly just 4. It is going to be Femi Oladejo, Jermaine Johnson, and Keldrick Falk. And maybe if you can play John Frank Lamars on the edge, that's cool and all, but you have 3 guys. So it's thankfully that you have your 2 starters. And Keldrick Falk, well, he has looked absolutely really, really solid to start his NFL career. When you look, he played 30 snaps on Thursday. And he didn't do too much, but 3 tackles. He also did get a pressure on the quarterback. But I will say this, he graded out from PFF absolutely incredible. And it's because a lot of the times, which I wish I had video for you guys, but they were double teaming him. When you look at the highest grade defensive players for the first-round rookies this season, yeah, you have Arvell Reese, you have Akeem Mesidor, Malachi Lawrence. Those are all great players. But guess what? Keldrick Falk is right there at 73.2. Guess what? That's more than David Bailey. That's more than Ruben Bain. That's more than a lot of these guys that were first-round picks on the edges. So that's perfect for Keldrick Folk. He's making his presence known in that very first week. And if you rewatch the tape, rewatch the highlights, the 49ers were chipping him almost every single play. They were taking their tight end and blocking Keldrick Folk and then having their offensive lineman just right there waiting for him because they did not want him to get to the quarterback whatsoever. So you saw that right there, that the 49ers, either they really saw something in their joint practices or they just respect him that much for what they saw from him in college. But he should thrive in this Robert Saleh defense, and he's just going to get more playing time now that you've lost Jalen Harrell for the season, which is unfortunate. But I like what the Titans have in Femi Odejo and Keldrick Folk, Jermaine Johnson, and John Frankelmeyer. So it's going to be okay, but we're risking the best recovery for Jalen Harrell. Show some love to Keldrick Folk, though. A great first game for him in the preseason. Hopefully we'll see a lot more of him in this second game against Seattle, which we'll break down and cover more throughout the week. So go down in the comment section. Spam your 15s, ladies and gentlemen, because he is going to be a star edge rusher in this league. Appreciate you all for watching. We're going to break down Titans news every single day here on the channel, whether you think of it, whether something breaks, and we also got a preseason game coming up this weekend. So hit that sub button right now, and as always, tighten up.